Alright, since some people asked for an updated, essentially add-on slash Weakauras video, right? Since it's been a while since I've used it, or since I last showed it. Of course, I'm using LVI to track my my UI in various ways. You know, tracks things like my bags, my health, and my chats as well. Normally, you won't see this chat because it's behind the chat cover. It tracks all my nameplates, etc. But there's also some Weakauras that I have tracked to it. So for an example, if I'm close to an enemy, you will see that it pops up right there. I have a bunch of Weakauras that is, you know, bound to various different things here, like nameplates, mind control, and whirlwind Weakaura. Albeit the whirlwind part of it doesn't work currently. But if you see the ring that is appearing here at the bottom, essentially when someone gets mind control, there will be a red ring on top of them. So like on this target right here, there would be a big red ring around them essentially the entire time if they were being, you know, mind controlled. This is just to track whenever someone gets into a position, especially in AQ40 whenever you're on the packs after twin amps. You know, them having a mind control ability essentially makes it super easy to see who is close by, so that you don't just instantly cleave them down. Another thing as well is the ADF. This tracks the armor values on a target. I'm pretty sure it just looks up the armor values based on what NPC it is, and since all of this data has been, you know, essentially not only data mined but tested, then it should be very accurate, right? And depending on what the debuffs you have on, you know, Sunder Armor, Expose, Holy Sunder, Curse of Wreck, and then Fairfire, then on most bosses you should be able to reach 0 armor, which is the ideal one. Holy Sunder being the, you know, Alliance only quest item that reduces the armor by 50. Because normally, right, you would only be able to get down to 37 armor on Horde side, right? You wouldn't be able to shred the last bit of armor unless you were using Annihilator. And in its current, you know, state, no one really uses Annihilator to set that up. Another thing, of course, is the Defcons Weakaura. It's what I'm using for, you know, my weapon swing timer, my somewhat cooldown tracking as well. You can see when I swing at the mob, you can see that, you know, the main hand swing is being tracked. Also, you know, it becomes blue if I'm above a certain amount of rage, right, in order to track if I'm able to use BT or not. Let's see, in my top left, I have Ofc I, a very handy add-on. I can show it here briefly on add-ons. Ofc I right here. It lets me track all of my consumables. So you can see that my my food here is about to run out. And I can just, you know, briefly right click on it and then it will be disappearing. The one thing with it is if you're in combat and you run out of the buff, you can see that it doesn't, you know, automatically track it instantly. Same thing if I were to, you know, use a buff while I'm in combat. You know, you can't eat food or similar to that case, but if I were to use like Juju Might, it will still track it on top of here. But as soon as you leave combat, you'll see that it not only did Juju Might disappear, I got the Blessed Sunfruit back. And of course I can just eat it directly afterwards. Of course, we're using details in order to track, you know, my damage done, not only for the entire fight by running the dynamic overall, for the entire raid, but also for the current fight. On top of that, you know, I'm using the plugin that is tracking the current threat on the target. You know, in case there's a potential tank issue, right? I'm essentially staring always on top of this when I'm running my Horde character. On top of that, we have some more Weakauras. Things like the AoE Taunt Pot Weakaura, something that you will see during the speedruns. If I were to use my lip now, then you will be able to see that not only am I using it in the moment, I think I need to be in a raid in order to show it, but if we take a look at the video from our latest speedrun, right, you can see in the top left corner that it's tracking everyone everyone's not only the potion Weakauras but also the AoE taunt timers. In this case, Amy has popped, his potion cooldown here, but the rest of the people have their not only the potion cooldown but also their AoE taunt Weakaura. AoE taunt cooldown ready. This right here is essentially just a part of LVUI. If I show it again, it's just a bar that I have put items on. I use it somewhat for tracking my cooldowns, mid run, but also so that I can potentially click it if I'm have some special thing, essentially a wipe happening, being able to use petrification. Maybe on Flask Self Polarity, I need to use Flask of Petrification in case there's bad room for everyone around me. Using item rack in order to track my trinkets. As you can see, I'm able to swap to the trinkets directly. I'm also able to swap items in combat. So if I were to be in combat, you can see that if I, go to swap something, then it will queue it up. Same with the trinkets. So as soon as I drop combat with Bloodrich Fading, it will automatically swap it on. There's some bugs to it. In case you are stunned when combat drops, then it will not automatically swap and you have to manually click it again whenever the stun, subsides. So let's see, what else do we have here? Of course, nameplate Sunders. Let's see if I can do this in a good way. I need some rage first. Just trying to... Did it miss? There you go. So if I hit here, then... You can see on the nameplate, a number has appeared. Essentially, it tracks how many Sunder armors are on a target at any given time. So if we go back and check on the video again, so we can see here that the off targets have various amounts of Sunders on them in this speedrun specifically with the MBGDKP. You can see that one of them is has all of them, and the other target get them applied after a while. It's just nice to being able to track if there's a full Sunders on the target at that given time. Of course, we have the Warcraft logs Weakaura from Holy Palace, who essentially made one that tracks based on the speedrun route, right? So you can see if we're ahead or behind. Obviously, this run here with the GDGP is a lot slower than the run we did with 5 Sunders Please when we set the world record of 4250. It's just a nice Weakaura that I just like being able to compare to the current speedruns at the time. So let's see, what else am I missing here? I think that's majority of it. There are some other like smaller Weakauras that you might see whenever I'm on my stream after a run. I have this consumable Weakaura. This is not public. It's just made by it's one of the people in Salad Bakers at the time when I was still playing with them. I can't remember if it was Tutto or if it was Hogis. So one of them essentially made it, and it's been carrying me for the longest time. Using this, I am able to not forget my my purchasing abilities. Let's see, am I missing something else here? I also have a cooldown tracking Weakaura that was made by, I think it's Eplios who made it in collaboration with Rogish in order to track which trinkets to use where. But this is all based on the speedrun that we've done, that we've been working on, right, in the past for 5 Sunders Please. So depending on various different percentages, what bosses, what trinkets to use when, fairly in a recklessness, using badges on 4 horsemen since you don't have all of the armor shredding at all times. I mean, you won't be able to have both Lock and the Druid on all targets all the time, right? But yeah, we saw the lip AoE taunt Weakauras. As you can see here, it tracks when both the lip and the AoE taunt is running. This will show for everyone, so let's see. There might be a good one. Let's see. I think in the speedrun, that we did with 5 Sunders. I can probably just check it here on Saffron. Rest in peace me, of course. But if you see about like behind the timer, right, you can see that everyone is using their lips here. It's just nice to track, especially if you're like a mid, you know, either normal rage speed, it doesn't matter. Just being able to see when a warrior is using his lip and AoE taunt is just a good what do I call it? Like a good indicator of when you can use your either, you know, explosives or using your AoE taunts, or should I say like Arcane Explosions. Like all of that is good timed. But I think that's mostly it, right? Like my swing timer is built into my the Defcon's Weakauras. Most of my UI is just based on this one. It tracks, you know, when I leave combat, when I join combat. I could go through all of my consumables, but it's pretty degenerate right now with all the spell power consumables. As you can see, you know, I pre-popped buffs and whatnot. But that is mostly, you know, all of the things that I use for my UI in order to keep up with everything. If there's any like specific question that you have for my Weakauras that I haven't talked about, you can of course just put a question in the comments, and should be relatively easy to track. Should be good.